제일 먼저 순서인 기조연설을 소개하겠습니다. 오늘 스마트 TV 글로벌 서밋에서 기조연설을 해주실 분은 북미 지역 최대 TV 영상 콘텐츠 배급사인 아마존사의 영상사업 부문을 맡고 계신 미스터 앤소니 베이 씨입니다. 앤소니 베이 씨는 TV 콘텐츠 유통과 변화를 주제로 해서 발표 제목은 Amazon.com and Future of the Connected Home이라는 제목으로 20분 정도의 기조연설을 해주시고 또 20분 정도의 또 Q&A 시간을 갖도록 하겠습니다. 앤소니 베이 씨는 애플 온라인 서비스 매니저 생활을 하셨고 마이크로소프트 디지털 미디어 사업부문 부사장, 모더스랜 CEO를 거쳐서 지금은 현재 아마존 영상사업부 총괄 부사장으로 재직하고 계십니다. 미스터 앤소니 베이 씨를 무대로 모시겠습니다. 큰 박수로 환영해 주시기 바랍니다.
This one? Okay, and this is backwards or forwards?
Back.
Okay, which one's back?
Point
Okay, forward, backwards. Perfect. I think we're good. Okay. Thank you very much, and good morning. It is a great honor to be here today, and I wanted to thank the organizers of this event for inviting Amazon and I to be able to present today. Korea is a leader in smart televisions globally, and there is no better country to host a smart TV summit than Korea. If you look at the progress that Korean manufacturers have made in the past few years, it is remarkable to see what Korea has brought to the rest of the world, and we can only imagine what you will do in the coming years. In addition, because your country has been so advanced in broadband networking, you've created in many ways a test case for the rest of the world. So it's a great pleasure to be here. I am responsible for Amazon's digital video on a global basis, and I'm going to talk today about the role of Amazon. I'm going to try. There we go. I'm going to give you a little background on Amazon.com. Going to talk about what we are doing in video, how that relates to smart TVs and connected devices, and then some thoughts from Amazon about how to make the most of this opportunity and how we can work together with the industry. Amazon has a very simple strategy set by our founder, Jeff Bezos, and that is everything we do, we start with the customer and work backwards. The question we ask ourselves is, what can we do today for our customers? When we think of new features and new ideas, why will customers care about this? Why will they be interested in this? And then from there, we work backwards to how we would achieve those things. We have 4 different sets of customers. We're most known for consumers, but we work with other customers and partners to be able to deliver value to consumers. Sellers, companies who are selling products, enterprise customers, and in the last few years, especially content creators. So I apologize for so much information on the page. I think the slides are not in your book, but we will be making them available afterwards. So Amazon is probably the largest e-commerce company in the world. We have retail websites actually only in 9 countries at this point, unfortunately not in Korea. We're a young company. We are a global company, but we have a lot of expansion plans for new countries outside the US. But right now we're in these 9. We have, as of last quarter, 188 million customers. Those are customers who've bought something from Amazon in the last 12 months and for which we have a payment relationship. As internet companies go, Amazon is relatively unique in that our relationship with customers is a purchasing relationship, not so much a traffic relationship. So we're very focused on providing services that customers pay for. Every one of those accounts is a locker. So I know a lot of the A lot of the discussion at this event is about cloud and cloud services. So we've been doing that since the company was founded. It started off where you could check your account records, your payment history, everything you've ever bought from us. It expanded as we began to do content into a digital locker. So every song, every ebook, every application, every piece of video content that a customer has ever purchased is always in the locker and available to them at any time. We have one of the largest cloud platforms in the world, although that's not something we're traditionally known for. From an infrastructure point of view, both on commerce and on Amazon Web Services, I'm not going to speak so much about those today, but we have over 2 million other people who sell through Amazon and large numbers of customers who are using our web services platform. Probably have the largest digital video catalog in the world. Today, the majority of the titles are not available in all countries, but in the United States, we have about 140,000 titles, individual titles of television shows and movies, which is quite a lot, but we have ambitions for a lot more. I'll be speaking more about that. We are rapidly growing in mobile. There are Amazon applications. Initial one was shopping, of course, price matching, Kindle reading, music, and video. We have a Android app store that's an alternative to the main Android app store that we've been doing as well. And of course, Kindle, and in particular recently the Kindle Fire with video, music, and a full range of multimedia. So Amazon's business strategy is actually pretty simple. We strive to have the best possible selection in every category we compete in. We do not think about only carrying certain items. Our goal is to literally carry everything. And we seek to provide that in the most convenient way, both on the web in terms of physical delivery, on devices, on smart TVs, in any way we touch the customer, and provide it at the best value. One of the questions that came up had to do with the transition from physical media to digital media. We don't see this as one choice or the other. We see this as both choices for customers. People will be reading physical books for many, many years. They will likely be using physical media in the form of discs for many, many years. It's not up to us to decide what the right choice is for customers. It's our responsibility to provide customers with that choice. So our physical media businesses continue to grow, books, music, DVDs, and Blu-rays, but our digital businesses are growing much more quickly. This is a chart that shows the growth of physical books compared to ebooks. As you can see, the growth curve for ebooks is very, very steep. So we found that customers like purchasing in digital books, and we found that a lot of people are willing to pay money. So we're not talking today so much about piracy, but we have found that if the value for the customer is there, people will spend money on digital content. I'll talk a little bit about video. Our vision is very similar to the core vision of Amazon, and that is to have every piece of professional video content ever produced in every language, in any country, available instantly on any device. So it's a big goal, but we have a CEO with big vision. And this is very similar to our goal in Kindle for ebooks, our goal in music. We are not focused on user-generated content. We're not trying to be YouTube. We're focused on professional copyrighted materials. Those could be shorts, those could be television shows, those could be movies. It doesn't matter the language, but that is our goal, is to make that available to customers worldwide. Not going the, oops, wrong way. There we go. Similar vision to what I described before. In order to be able to offer all video content, it is important that we support multiple, you would call them business models or structures. For example, people should be able to purchase. Almost every piece of content can be made available for purchase. A smaller number can be available for rental. A smaller number as well can be part of a subscription where the customer pays a single fee and does not pay for each piece of content. They pay a single monthly fee or an annual fee, and the ability to discover. So unlike companies that are only in the subscription business or only in the sale and rental business, we are across all of these because that's the way we can provide them all to our customers. And we find the combination of this turns out to be quite valuable. In the United States, we have, as I said, over 140,000 titles. We work with almost all major content companies. This is not a complete list. We offer video services today in the US, the UK, and Germany. We are expanding into other countries. I can't give you the specific schedule, but it is our goal to work with these partners on a global basis, as well as with, as you can see, French, Studio Canal, BBC. So we're not limited to US partners. In order to make this work, we believe very strongly that it has to be across any different product the customer has. As much as many of us would like customers to only buy from one manufacturer, that is not generally what customers do. They have products from different manufacturers. And they have products from different years. So it is very important that we support all devices a customer might have. Now, this is not easy, and it takes a lot of work, but I will speak more after this about ways we think that can best be done in smart televisions. So we are across most products today, but we still have many more to go. We see smart TVs as the next evolution of digital entertainment in the home. Game consoles, in particular for video, game consoles, certainly in the United States market, became the dominant way in which people watched the first generation of streaming video. That was because, for the most part, they had a very large installed base. I think there's over 20 million Xbox consoles in the US, over 20 million PS3, over 20 million Nintendo Wii. So you had a very large installed base with high performance processors because they were game machines, and many were connected to the internet. And they were essentially relatively sophisticated users compared to the average. So if you think of an early adopter, game consoles were perfect. And so there's been a lot of use in game consoles. But game consoles aren't for everyone. They're not in every room, and they're not the kinds of things that can be delivered at the right price point. You have to pay a lot of money for a game console. So the next generation, we believe, is a combination of multi-purpose devices and eventually smart TVs, where all of the components that you need, all of the capabilities are built right into the TV. Because that is, in the long run, the easiest, simplest solution for the customer, is they don't need to hook up multiple boxes, they don't have numbers of cables, and it's quite easy. I'll talk more in a minute, but the biggest barrier at the moment is the complexity of making all this work. Once you have it working, it's actually very nice. So as we look into the future, it's not up to us to decide which devices will be important, but we believe the opportunity for smart TV manufacturers, and therefore for customers, is really huge. Smart TVs can be the central hub of the living room. I think you all know this. This whole day will be about things like this. I don't have anything particular new to add here. But I think it's important that we also recognize what smart TVs are and what they are not. They are an experience that people usually enjoy socially. They are an experience people tend to enjoy from a distance, and for the most part with simple controllers. So it's important that we balance functionality with simplicity, and I'll talk more about that. The biggest opportunity that we do see for changing the way people interact with their smart TVs does come from companion devices. Sometimes this is called second screen, sometimes this is called end screen. But the idea of using a smartphone or a tablet as a companion device when you're watching television, we think makes tremendous sense, more so than trying to put all those same features on the television. And smart TVs have the potential to be the most elegant presentation. No wires, no cables. It's on the wall. It's very thin and it's beautiful. So in terms of opportunities, the things that we think are the most important for the industry are really getting the basics right. People are buying TVs. Many of them try to use the smart and internet functions, but in a lot of cases, it's just too hard. So I would say we think the best approach, or certainly a very good approach, is to start with the customer and work backwards. It needs to be very simple. It needs to be very simple from the beginning. Most people, again, it depends on the country, but in countries where you have broadcast television or pay television, the thing most people first do is they plug in their television box to the TV, and that's the last time they configure the smart TV. They usually don't touch it again. So the opportunity is, how do you think differently? How do you make the first experience the smart TV experience, so that you set up the internet, you set up wireless, you make it simple, simple, simple for the customer. You solve the basic access and navigation of finding things. It's important that we keep these simple. Again, there's no right way. Each company needs to find their own path. But the first part is make it simple, make it easy. We're better off, I think, as we've seen in smartphones. You can have a lot of functionality, but the basics need to be simple. The other thing, and this is an experience we've had in many cases very painfully, is whereas game consoles thought of themselves as platforms that evolve, for the most part, TV manufacturers were not used to that model. So the idea of how firmware updates work, how software updates work, is still very inconsistent and confusing. And you have to think about this for multiple years, balancing the fact that you'd like a customer to buy a new model with the fact that many customers will have models from different years, and they don't think about that. They just think about, I have that brand of TV and I want it to work. As I said, flexible controls, we're not the experts on any of these, but the point is they have to work and they need to be simple. There are a lot of people experimenting with many different things. We'll see how those turn out. The easier it is, the better, but I come back to the first point. It has to work well. Personalization, a lot of that will come down to what you do on the television versus what you do in a companion device. There's no right way to do this, but again, keeping it simple. And the last piece is, I think there is a tendency to want to create a manufacturer-specific ecosystem where all things work well if it's from a single vendor, but not so well if it's from multiple vendors. And from our point of view, that is problematic for the customer. As I said, most people don't think that way. Many people have products from multiple companies, so figuring out how this works together and working together is important. I'll go through this relatively quickly. There'll be a lot of discussion about this, I think, over the course of the day. Has to be a good framework for developing applications. If you look at what's been successful in smartphones and really changed the world in smartphones, it was applications. Smartphones became an application platform, and that rather than the manufacturer having to invent everything, they created an environment where third parties could innovate and invent really exciting things. And so the question then is, how do you do that on a television? We believe as it relates to video, there's a few basic things that are important to do. I think you've heard about this for a while. We will certainly add our support to that of HTML5, JavaScript, Android where possible, and standard APIs for devices. Figuring out how to do quality control. One of the biggest problems we find in delivering video to smart TVs is the problems that just come from quality of delivery. Delivering video over the internet is not like delivering video over a satellite. We all know that. But smart TV companies have to get much more involved in the process of quality control of video delivery over the internet if we're going to provide a real alternative. And then again, early access to partners like ourselves when you're working on next generation products. So it becomes a platform. Smart TVs have to become the next platform after smartphones and tablets, and we have to think about them in that way. Talked a bit about this. Again, HTML5, native DRM support, adaptive bitrate turns out to be very, very important for video for obvious reasons. But because you don't control all of the pieces of the network infrastructure, you have to be able to not only do great quality control and think about things like buffering, but you also have to have adaptive bitrate technology. All these other things, I think, are pretty standard and understood. One of the most interesting things about delivering video over smart TVs is that there is no top bar to what's possible. When you look at standardized disc formats, take Blu-ray for example, Blu-ray is what it is. There's not innovation opportunity in Blu-ray because the disc formats are set and the manufacturing parameters are set. That's not true in IP delivery. So not only can the applications change very radically, but the opportunities for greater and greater quality. If you'd had a discussion 5 years ago and said people would be delivering 1080p Dolby 5.1 surround sound over the internet to a television directly, people would have thought you were probably crazy. And so if you look at what's coming in the next few years, the best way to deliver new innovation is going to be over internet delivery, probably not through the traditional linear means, just because the technology will make it hard. I think the future is very bright for all of us. The opportunities are tremendous. The things that you can do on a properly built smart television are really amazing. And so if we can work together and try to find common ground on these important pieces, getting the basics there so that content owners and service providers can work together with manufacturers with a long-term view, we think there's a great, great opportunity. And it is our desire to be one of the premier partners for anyone who's attempting to build these devices. Clearly, these are, you can try to build your own services if you're in that business, and it's not our decision as to whether you do. But if you work with Amazon, you can be sure that you will have a great customer experience in video across the broadest possible content selection. That is our commitment to our customers and to you. Thank you. We're going. Good. Now we have a question and answer session, I think. A short break while we bring up the moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Bay, for your very informative speech. We do have a couple questions for you. Well, let's start with, I guess, competition. TV manufacturers, smart TV companies, are coming up with their own content stores. Well, do you think that the TV manufacturers should build their own content services?
It's not our decision as to whether they should or they shouldn't. We think we can help provide probably a better experience than is possible because that's what we're focused on. And I think, as I said, the challenge is for customers, they tend to have different devices from different companies and they want to use them. But we would like, at minimum, that companies know that we're here to partner with them.
Okay. That's actually what I thought your answer would be. You also said that you still sell DVDs.
Yes.
But that your digital content online is increasing. Well,
yes.
How does Amazon view the seemingly rapid transition from the physical discs to digital content? Online content?
Okay, great question. As I said, we don't see this as either or. Some people like packaged media, and there'll be many people that are comfortable with discs for many years to come. They are much simpler today than internet video. You take a disc, you put it in a Blu-ray player, it just works. You don't have to think about all the things you have to think about with digital. So it's really up to the industry to make the experience of direct delivery of content better than the experience of discs. It's the consumer's decision as to which they choose. Because we offer both, again, we want to make it available to customers in as many ways as possible and let them choose.
But as you said, you're in terms of sales, the online digital content sales is growing more.
It's growing
rapidly.
faster. Yes, we don't disclose total numbers, but we have said digital is growing much faster.
Okay. And also, you have your Kindle and Kindle Fire.
Yes.
But if we did not have Kindle, what can an average user do to get Amazon on their devices?
Well, we have Kindle applications on pretty much every device. So it's not required that you have anything from Amazon in order to use Amazon services or be a customer. As a matter of fact, we're quite happy to work with other companies to put a great Amazon client. So that's true for shopping, that's true for Kindle books, that's true for music, it's also true for video. Mm-hmm. We have an Amazon application on Apple as well. Right. So the reason to do our own is we think we can push forward in a much more integrated way together to show what's possible. Mm-hmm. And so there will be Amazon products, but not exclusively.
Great. Well, then what do you think the smart TV manufacturers can do to make it easier for the application developers developing for this platform?
I spoke about some of those. I think the number one thing is in the mind is to think about smart television as a platform, in the same way smartphone is a platform, and then to decide how to work with partners to get the best value on your platform, more than trying to do everything yourself, because that's what's worked. You know, if you look at the last 8 or 10 years in smartphones, you had Blackberries, which were very strong. You had Nokia with Symbian that was very strong. Each had their own complete world. And Apple had the biggest, but we're all similar. And then along came Android and changed things. And it made it possible for different manufacturers to do that. And so, you know, we think something similar can happen in smart TV. We don't know exactly the right way, but the idea of smart TV being a platform and not just a single vendor system is really important.
Right, but if we talk about smart TV, it could be another smart device along with a host of your other mobile smart devices. And you talked about flexibility and how difficult it was to get things to work on all the platforms. Yes. And smart TV actually even has 3D, so features that other mobile devices don't have.
That's true, but I think the basic principle is the same, is to win by being the best platform. If you look at what's happened in Android phones, without having to name manufacturers, some manufacturers have done very well by building on top of that platform. Others have not done so well, but they think of their product as they focus their own innovation and value on things that are unique and not on the basics. And the basics need to be standard. You know, delivering video needs to be standard. Building basic applications needs to be relatively standard. So the opportunity is to, and this is the hard part, of course, is to decide where to focus your unique value and where to try to be as broad as possible.
I cannot agree with you more about the concept of standardization. Yeah. Right. Well, my next question is future of digital video. What do you think will be the next revolution that will change everything?
Oh my goodness, the next revolution that changes everything. You know, revolutions usually are obvious in hindsight. It's easier to see them after they happen than before they happen. So it would be very bold for me to predict, but if you look at the delivery of video over the internet, IP, and you compare it to the traditional ways of distributing video over broadcast or satellite or cable, linear television, the pace, and this was the keynote speaker last year spoke about this, the pace on the internet is incredibly rapid. The cycles are very, very fast. And no one can exactly predict what will happen. But what you can predict is that if you create these platforms, things happen. So the innovations that can happen in television, once the smart TV does not require anything else, once the smart TV itself can receive content directly, once people can build applications just for smart TVs, there are truly no limits to what those TVs can do, just as was true with smartphones. So I do believe televisions are things that people watch video on. So when, I don't know how much people are going to want to do Facebook on a TV personally, but I think better delivery of video with a more personalized experience. The best experience in most countries today is 800 or 900 channels. That's nice, but there's really no more opportunity. That world is not, there's not much possibility. There aren't another 1,000 channels available, and even if they were, that business model is very stable. So whereas on the internet, it's possible to change that dramatically. Every piece of content, in theory, is deliverable in a very customized way. So we think the possibilities are huge, and therefore people will buy. As we've seen, the average price point for smartphones, for phones, has gone up significantly because of the features. People will spend money on these. So if you can build a great product, people will use it. But most TVs in the past, it hasn't mattered because you still have a box on the side, and that box is what decides what works.
Right. So you mentioned this in your speech, and you said that you thought the consumer will consume video content through OTT, not linear, and you seem to be saying that actually the internet, instead of satellites or terrestrial broadcasting, would be the method or the delivery method. Well, okay, so you said, and you also said that the possibilities are limitless. Well, what do you think would be the most important features on smart TVs for a good customer experience?
Okay. I did not say that people will not watch linear television. I believe people will be watching linear television, whether it's satellite or broadcast or cable, for many years. For the same reason people will be using discs for many years. It works, it's easy, it's simple, and people are accustomed to it. So I don't think it's instead of. I think the question is what new opportunities can you get? So OTT and internet video, I think, are the same thing. It's IP-based delivery of video. The difference is you're not limited by what your local service provider makes available. That's the basic difference. Today, you can only get broadcast channels that are available in your market or in your city. You can only get linear programming available from the satellite carrier or the cable operator, depending on your country. That's it. With IP-based services and over-the-top, aside from government restrictions, you do not have the fundamental limits. So I still think it's going to be video, but the potential of video and how it can be delivered and how personal it can be, I think is the place where there's great opportunity. But I think it's not either or.
Right. You didn't say that everybody would be using OTT, but you seem to be saying that people are leaning towards over the top. The other question that leads from this is that when we look at the smart TV market or the connected TV market, there are so many new players trying to grab a piece of the action.
Yes.
And it seems that mobile services like Flickr, Hulu, and so on seem to be doing better than the TV manufacturers who produce smart TVs, or service providers who try to provide IPTV, or the broadcasters.
Sure.
So, well, what would be the business model that Amazon expects to be successful?
All good questions. So the first comment is that Twitter, Facebook came about as web applications that grew up on mobile also very quickly. And neither of those existed 10 years ago. So it's, important to remember Facebook as a company was started in 2003. Google as a company was started in 1998. Amazon was 1994. So those are very fast in terms of the impact. Facebook in 10 years goes to 1 billion users. So I think it's hard to predict, but what was possible was that the underlying technology allowed those things to happen very quickly. And so when it comes to smart TVs, I think the first opportunity is to provide a better video service than is available through other means. That's number one. People buy televisions to watch video. They do other things on them, but if it doesn't do video very well, then that's unlikely they will use it. It's like smartphones. If you can't make a call, you really don't care about your email at some point. So the first job is video. And then the second thing are things we really, it's hard to predict exactly how they'll be used. News could be fundamentally very different. If the marriage of personalized information to television is probably very, very powerful. Hard to predict how that'll happen. But the video experience has to work, the basic application framework has to work, and then all these things can happen from there. So the company that becomes the best platform, I think, is the best positioned to do this. And not as a proprietary platform, but as an open platform.
Yes, let's kind of continue with this thought of open platform. The problem now is that the specifications of smart TV and the video services that rely on cloud services are being provided by many different manufacturers and many different service providers.
Yes.
And so they are very fragmented. And since you emphasize the need for standardization of the technologies, well, you definitely see a need for it, but do you think it would be possible?
Yeah, I think so. I mentioned in my presentation and some of the slides, but I think if you look through the materials here today, there'll be lots of discussions about this. The pieces that are important are video delivery, presentation, and security. Those are, there are all sorts of other questions about what the right operating system is and other kinds of application infrastructures, and so I'm sure those will be discussed more today. But some of the basic ones are you have to have, I hate to say it, a runtime environment that can be updated easily so that new features can come in. There are other technical devices that you can learn from. People have been doing this on PCs, people have been doing this now on tablets and smartphones, and you understand you have to be able to update them. So an updatable infrastructure is the key. But as I said, the closed versus open is a very important debate. Some manufacturers have gone for more of a closed system, and that it's harder to get innovation, I think.
Yes.
We don't believe that's the right we don't believe that's the right path, but that's up to others to decide.
Yes, I mean, you make it sound so easy, but I know it is not. And
No, simple and easy are not the same thing. It is not easy at all, but I think sometimes we all make it too complex. And really, in some cases, if we get the basics right, then there's opportunity to learn from the others. And getting the basics is really the most important piece.
Great point. We just need to get them to cooperate. Well, okay, my final question is,
Okay.
what do you think is the main advantage that you have compared to your competitors?
we would think about it a little differently, and the question we would ask is, what benefit can we bring to consumers? What is it that we bring to customers? That's our focus. So the question that we believe we can answer is by the vision that I described. If we're able to bring every piece of content, again, we will continue to move down that path. We've made good progress by bringing the best possible selection, delivering it in the most convenient way to customers, not determining how they should use it. Some might want to pay a monthly fee to subscribe. Some might want the brand new release when it comes out, be willing to pay for that. Some might prefer to rent. Some will watch on different devices. So we are focused on an ecosystem, having all the content we can, making it easily available, making it available on all devices. So you can start watching on television and finish watching on a smartphone. You can download when you need to travel. The device ecosystem of devices, not ours necessarily, but any. So it's the best possible selection, the most convenient, and the best value are the things we bring.
And you think this is much better than Flickr? Netflix.
It's not up to us to decide. Customers will decide what they think is most important and how they choose. And again, in over the top, it isn't necessary that the prices of these are so low relative to what people are used to paying for TV, that it isn't necessary that one has to lose for another to win. That the more innovation we think the better.
Great, thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
그 컨텐츠 유통과 그 스마트 TV 관련된 아마존의 비전을 잘 설명해 주신 미스터 베이 씨에게 뜨거운 박수를 다시 한번 부탁드립니다.